In Season 5, fans of HBO's Game of Thrones series finally caught up with those reading the books. That means, for the first time, we can all speculate together on some of the story's greatest mysteries. Characters like the Red Priestess Melisandre have predicted the return of Azor Ahai, a legendary hero who will lead the forces of light in a final battle against the White Walkers. But just who exactly is Azor Ahai, and what clues do we have to decipher his or her identity? The prophecy begins thousands of years before the events of Game of Thrones. During a time of great darkness, a hero named Azor Ahai was called upon to save the world. To do so, he forged a magic sword called Lightbringer, working for 100 days and nights before having to sacrifice his own wife to complete the ritual. Melisandre speaks of ancient books in the Shadowlands that predict his rebirth, returning when the cold breath of darkness falls heavy on the world. According to these prophecies, there are 3 criteria that a potential Azor Ahai reborn would need to fulfill. Firstly, the hero must be born amidst smoke and salt. Second, the hero will wield a burning sword called Lightbringer. And finally, the hero will wake dragons out of stone. The first and most obvious candidate is Stannis Baratheon, who Melisandre herself proclaims to be the reincarnated Azor Ahai. While burning effigies of the old gods on the beaches of Dragonstone, Stannis could be considered to have been reborn in the smoke of the fires and the salt of the sea. This ritual also gave him a flaming sword, which Melisandre calls Lightbringer. Additionally, while he hasn't awoken any dragons from stone lately, he is the Lord of Dragonstone, so that sort of works, if you don't think about it too much. Finally, the Baratheons are related to the Targaryens, so Stannis could be considered a dragon himself. However, despite Melisandre's insistence that he's the chosen one, there are many reasons to believe she's wrong, especially given George R.R. Martin's propensity for misdirection. A much more likely candidate for Azor Ahai is currently living halfway across the world. Daenerys Targaryen was originally born on the island of Dragonstone, providing the salt, and was reborn on Khal Drogo's funeral pyre, providing the smoke. Daenerys also literally woke dragons from stone when her 3 petrified dragon eggs hatched. If Azor Ahai isn't Stannis or Dany though, there is a third, promising candidate. In the books, Jon Snow has a dream where he is fighting White Walkers using a burning red sword, and when Melisandre looks into her fires for Azor Ahai, she sees glimpses of things relating to Jon. As for the smoke and salt, when Jon is stabbed by his fellow Night's Watch brothers, the language in the books describe his wounds as smoking, while Jon's attackers are openly weeping, providing the salt. That might seem like a stretch, but it's an intentionally vague prophecy, so we'll take what we can get. As for the tiny fact that Jon might be dead, well, stranger things have happened than a character returning from the grave, especially now that Melisandre is back at Castle Black. We've already seen this power in action when another Red Priest, Thoros of Myr, resurrected Lord Beric from the dead 6 times. If Jon does manage to come back to life, it could be considered his rebirth as Azor Ahai. No matter who Azor Ahai turns out to be though, the books and the show have made one thing clear. That particular character will be Westeros' best and perhaps only hope for prevailing against the coming darkness. We'll continue to investigate more Game of Thrones mysteries in the coming weeks on IGN, so don't forget, voting is still open if you want to tell us which theory we should tackle next. And for everything else Game of Thrones, keep a close eye here on IGN.